Welcome everybody to the most important time in Illuvium of the year, which is elections. This is where the Illuvium community, the Illuvium LV token stakers are electing their representatives for the IMC and the ICC. And also, if you're an LV holder, you can nominate yourself as a candidate. So let's quickly go over all the details, which you can find a little bit when you scroll up in the announcements. You can find the Epoch 11 governance elections information. So we are in the middle of the nomination period from 30 April to the 10th of May. Right now it's the 5th of May. And exactly today in a month, the new epoch will start on the 5th of June. So who can nominate? All LB holders can nominate themselves, and LB stakers will be able to vote for their IMC and the community council elections. So if you have LB staked, if you're able to vote, please make sure to vote. It's very, very important to voice your opinion and actually vote for the representative that you want to see up there. How to do it? Here is the form if you want to nominate for yourself for the IMC. ICC will start later on. So once the IMC and the committee is finished, we're going to go into ICC nominations and voting. So if you maybe want to be a committee, here is the nomination form for that. So whatever your specific expertise is, for example, esports, we got an esports committee, or marketing, or strategy, whatever it is, you can become an advisor right here. So that's basically what it is. What it is, the IMC, for example, is planning or is talking about competitive tournament formats in Illuvium. They're going to reach out to the esports committee, or at least they should do it. It hasn't happened a lot. I think the committee wasn't utilized as much as it should have been. But yeah, for example, esports committee is a new one in there. And yeah, then you can check out all the IMC nominees under this link, which if you scroll down a little bit, you'll be able to find me right here. And we will go over some questions I answered because I just want to give some context with the stuff I have answered. So it doesn't just sound like, I'm writing it up with ChatGPT. I put a lot of time into all my answers. I think it's the longest answers from all of them. But yeah, I'm really happy how they turned out. And yeah, I think there might be also interviews from Illuvium. But in case there isn't, I want to give some more context and be actually fully transparent and so on. So you can find all the other dates here, and I will link this and all the other things. I will link it in the description down below. But yeah, if you can't find it, just go into the Illuvium Discord under announcements. You can find all of this. Okay, without further ado, let's jump in here. There is some, like on the airplane, are you a terrorist questions, which are all like obvious no's, so we're gonna not go into them. There is also an obvious no question, but I gave a little bit more context here. Share any potential conflicts of interest you might have in the gaming sector. None. I'm developing an Illuvium licensed Web3 game. But that's the opposite of a conflict of interest. It's directly aligned with the success of the ecosystem. So maybe if you guys have been staying up to date with me, I've been leaking a little bit. And the game is called Drone Stone. You can find it actually on Twitter. I'm also going to be linking it down in the description below. We already started the Twitter page. We are still finalizing the license agreement with Illuvium, so that's why we haven't been able to leak the trailer and invite people into the official private alpha. But it's going to be on Epic Games Store, and as soon as we can leak stuff, we're going to leak it. So follow us on Twitter to check that out. So basically, well, I am deeply embedded in the gaming sector, but with an Illuvium licensed game, so I don't think you can call it a conflict of interest. It's the opposite. Then one of the most important questions, I think, for all the candidates is please provide some for your formal education, include any relevant degrees and majors. So I went a little bit deeper into this, and my formal education is a 5-year computer science program in the Austria's technical college, which is called HTL. And it was specialized in programming for all the major programming languages. I just listed a few of them. We started with C++, actually, was our first one. Then we went into C, C#, Java, MySQL, and there was a bunch of other ones. Like we did HTML on the side, and like I didn't list all of them, just the major ones. It was 5 years non-stop programming, and it never really clicked with me, to be honest. Like my teacher was not very fun. He was a very strict teacher. And for example, I wanted to make a stickman fighting game, right? We did like Snake and like the basic games in the first year, and then we had some projects to do ourselves and design our own game. And I wanted to make a stickman fighting game, and he was like, "No, no fighting, no violence. Like you can't even have stickman shoot with like dots or whatever it is, even if it's no guns." So just as a little example, it kind of turned me off, and then I went a little bit of an other way. I was always gaming from day one since I'm 8 till now, and it has been mostly, I would say, to waste time, like to like TV or Netflix or whatever, but also with like connecting with friends, and also it taught me a lot about the world, especially with online gaming, how to interact with people when you're like 14 and you're in a World of Warcraft vanilla molten core raid with 40 other people who are all like adults. Like you grow up fast and you learn a lot on how to talk to people so you actually can get your gear. Anyway, um, I wanted to also, but just a little explanation what this is, because I think many people don't know. It is like a high school, but it's way higher, because after the HTL, after this college, you actually have like, I think 10 to 15 different jobs that you can go into. So it's not a trade where you actually leave school and do the trade. Like you stay in this higher school, and after that you can either go to university, like you have your university allowance to study there, or you have 5 to 15 different technical jobs you can go into, all connected with like programming and CNC and so on. So it's highly regarded in Austria, and the specific one that I went to, it was like nominated the school of the country for 2 years in a row, or maybe even more, I can't remember. So it was a really good school, just want to say, and it was really hard focus on technical programming, on computer science. Because this sounds kind of lame, it's not like university and so on. I did go to university, but not for anything computer related. So then we have self-taught experience, which I think is even more important, because this is hands-on experience where I actually went down to business and did everything from start to finish. I designed the game that I'm gonna leak later on, but the full tokenomics were designed by me. The full in-game economy, from like the Web 2 free-to-play economy, where you can pay to progress, your classic coins and so on, towards the tokenomics, how the tokenomics and how the token generation event will go down, how we can reach out to investors with that, how this token will have sinks, and how the token can be utilized, how can it be utilized in a way where it's a healthy ecosystem in the long run, and so on. We're not gonna I'm gonna do another video about the whole game, I guess, but yeah, like I've been working on a Web3 game, Illuvium licensed game, for the last, I would say, year, and I had to do everything. Like I did it from scratch by myself. Obviously, I did some shortcuts, and I used an engine for it and so on. I didn't like reinvent the wheel, but from game development over to, let's start with the beginning, from game design to game development, with figuring out tokenomics, economy, in-game economy, tying into the tokenomics, making a pitch deck, starting to reach out to investors. And all of these points, I had to collaborate, or I wanted to collaborate with people who have done it before, who have a lot of experience, right? I didn't do all of this by myself with ChatGPT. I reached out to Perry, to Kieran, to Aaron, to Johnny. Was a huge help, Johnny. He's not in Illuvium anymore, but he's such a smart man, and he helped me a lot. He has a Web3, I'm not sure if I can talk about it, but he's an expert in what he does. And all of these people, like there's many more. Viper as the pro gamer, Josh as the finance guy. We have Scrubber as the guy for the law, for the law, and so on. Like I reached out to all these crazy talented individuals in Illuvium, which are all experts in their field, and they helped me design the whole game, and everything around the game, and everything I needed to design for the game and figure out for the game. I had help along the way, which means, like, don't trust me, trust the people I reached out to, but you can trust my collaborative efforts and ability to really work together with all these people. And I'm so thankful that all of these people were really helpful to help me. Obviously, I promised them some tokens later down the line, but first, like for advisors and so on. But first, when I reached out to every one of them, there was no talk about any compensation, and they were just happy to help. And they're really excited about this game as well. So yeah, I can't wait to show you. I just wanted to talk a little bit more about that. And basically, every single point that Illuvium is dealing with, I had to deal with in a very small scale, right? It's an indie game after all, but it's an indie game in the Web3 space with a token planned, most likely for to fund it. And yeah, I'm not gonna go too deep. And yeah, and I'm gonna upload it, or I have been uploading, and I have been dealing with Epic Games, who have very strict norms and guidelines about blockchain games. I already disclosed that it's a blockchain game. Even the current private alpha doesn't have any blockchain aspects implemented yet. I still disclosed that it's gonna have blockchain aspects, and I had to do an FAQ and all the compliances with the localization and different countries. I had to do all of this with Epic Games already. Now we are actually ready to put it on Epic Games. And once you are a tester, which you will be if you want to, because we get enough keys, you will be able to put that test code into Epic Games and then download the game from there. Because GitHub is a little bit sketchy. And Epic Games, yeah, that's just the standard we want to have. Homepage is not there yet, but that's one of the big next steps, and so on. I don't want to get lost into this. I'm really excited about this, but you will learn a lot about the game, Drone Stone, in the future, in a future video. And if you stay up to date on Twitter with the Drone Stone Twitter and the Drone Stone Discord as well, all the links down in the description. Let's move on. Is there anything else? No, that's it. So how familiar are you with the gaming regulations and compliance requirements? Like, one point of this is all the regulations and compliance I had to do with Epic Games for my game, which is on the Web2 gaming side with loot boxes and like all of this stuff, right? To avoid gambling restrictions. But then also on the side of blockchain and Web3, which also needs to comply with a lot of regulations and compliances. On the other side, as my job on the ICC over to 2 epochs, I've worked with the legal team of Illuvium. And I say worked with them, they work great on their own, right? They don't need my help, but I've reached out to them, I've talked to them, they gave me information, I've asked deeper, and I've just compiled information for the ICC, the IMC, and the community about topics that we needed this information for, which was one big point was the tournaments. This was 2 epochs ago in my first epoch. We talked about entry fee for tournaments. And basically the answer was we cannot really take the risk from Illuvium's side because this goes into gambling. Even though the game is a skill game, there is risk or chance involved. And once you buy an entry ticket and then have a chance to win, you're gambling. And anyway, we don't want to talk about this either, but in the end, the IMC and the team decided that it's not worth the risk and third parties could take over for this. And basically, this is how I supported the IMC and the team in this case with researching all the compliances and the regulations around this and reaching out to the Illuvium Labs legal team to work together with them. And on a similar occasion, we did this now with Garth. We created a group chat with all the influential community members. And we thought it would be good to know how high the risk for an IMC member actually is of being sued, right? Because that's the big point. Hey, they get $2,000 more because they're doxxed with Vara in Dubai, and they have such a high chance of being sued. So we figured out all the details of how high is this chance if there is no Vara, which there isn't, right? There is still a high chance, by the way. So even if there is no Vara, you can still get sued, but not if you're not doxxed. So the thing is, going forward, the IMC won't be doxxed anymore, at least not to the public, which means they cannot really be sued. It's different for me, for example, because I doxed myself already, and it might be different for a lot of other people, like realistically, who have already doxed themselves under their aliases. So yeah, we talked about this and we figured out stuff. How can we reduce the pay for the IMC because they actually not under a big threat through Barra doxing anymore. And this led to reducing the pay in the first time already from, was it from 5,000? Did we actually have 5,000 in the beginning? Feels unreal now. To 3,750. And now in the next epoch, we're going to cut it even more to 1/3 of that, from 3,750 to 1,750. Yeah, something like that. Sorry, don't quote me on the exact numbers right now. But yeah, we reduced it by another third for the next epoch. Same with the ICC this time, down to 500 from 1,500. So yeah, I think we talked about this point enough. I don't think we can go through all the questions because, as you see, there is a lot. I wrote a book at one point. Again, this is not all, this looks like an arrow. This is by no means blah blah, right? Every sentence in here is carefully written by me. Obviously, I put it in ChatGPT to help me get all the mistakes, like all the grammar and spelling mistakes out of there. But all of this is written by me, and all of this is carefully chosen, and hopefully all of this is very important information about me, about my vision, and about what I have to say. So I do want to talk about this, but probably we don't have time in one video. I don't want to like have a 1 hour video right here talking about this. Maybe we have a part 2, part 3, something like this. Anyway, back to the beginning. From education, compliances. Describe an instance where you had to ensure regulatory compliance and enforce ethical behavior in a complex situation. So the best example I came up with, first I had like an example of how, as a content creator, ICC member, and all these hats, or guild leader, all these hats that I'm wearing, it's very easy. You're a target, right? And I had my fair share of haters, which is fine. And I've learned to get a thicker skin and deal with them on a respectful way and so on. But then I decided to not put it in there and actually put another example in there, which is what I talked about earlier. With Garv, like Garv started this, but I became a big part of it. We made a group chat with, I think, 8, 9 different community members, which are all very engaged and influential community members. And we came together and tried to find a new governance system. So this included talking about abolishing the IMC and the ICC and just having the Illuvium stakers vote themselves. This was reducing pay or removing pay. And there was many different systems and many different opinions. And I think I was a core reason or a core driver to find our common goal, to define, which I think is the most important in this situation with different opinions. Wait, actually, I'm talking about another thing right now. I should read first before I'm talking. So what I'm talking about here, I'm very sorry. I was actually talking about, it's later on, right? I've been working on this for a while now, so everything flows into one at this point. So later on, do you deal with different opinions, right? And that's what I explained right now, where there it is. Describe a situation where you had to collaborate with stakeholders who had different opinions. How did you handle it? So just to finish my point here, we created this group chat with all the different opinionated people, and I think I was a major driving force in finding the common goal, like what we all wanted to achieve, which was giving Illuvium the freedom to develop the best game they can, like not being a hindrance to Illuvium Labs was one of the core goals that we wanted to have. And besides the common goals, I was also, I think, a good creator of an environment where everybody felt safe, felt free to share, no matter their opinion, and everybody was heard, and then we could talk about it on a respectful way. And I tried to engage with everyone, tried not to bring in my own opinions too much, except when it helped. And yeah, just tried to facilitate this safe place with 8 different opinionated people. And it was a great focus group, I think. In the end, we figured out one solution, and then we went to Kieran, to Labs, to IMC, and they kind of didn't like it, so we kind of threw it away again. But hey, the work group was amazing, and I think everybody who was in there can agree with me. Back to what I wanted to answer in the first place about regulatory compliance and enforce ethical behavior in complex situations. So we did this with what I also said before. So those two questions kind of tied in together. That's where I got confused. So we like it was connected with the other one where we talked about tournaments and the IMC risk, and yeah, I kind of answered both questions in one answer. And also with my own game, I had to comply with their Epic Games Store requirements, blockchain requirements, and so on. Are you a terrorist? No, no, no. Next up, describe your relevant experience with organization, gaming, governance, management, or business strategy. I think this is, everybody that knows me knows that I'm very deeply embedded in most of these points or all of these points. And yeah, to say quickly, organization, I've been founding. I've founded one of the biggest Illuvium guilds, Phantom. We have been organizing tournaments, events. I've been gaming Illuvium. Like, I'm probably one of the most dedicated gaming content creators and one of the most that has been for the longest. I've been gaming my whole life. I've never even really looked at many other games since I started Illuvium. This has been my life for the last 3 years, and I love it. Governance, I've been in 2 ICC epochs, plus as a community member, I was deeply engaged and always tried to stay up to date, because many people try to hate on content creators as council members, but I feel content creators are at the very least the most engaged community members, because you need to know everything, because you want to talk about everything in your content. At least the content I make about is mostly focused on gaming, but every major news I'm covering as well. So whatever it is, I'm always up to date with it. So even outside of my ICC experience, I have always been very engaged with governance. And then management or business strategy, yeah, it's like I'm developing my own game. I'm reaching out to investors. I've been working together with the Illuvium founders, the Illuvium team leaders, development heads, ex-team members, other founders from other games or other projects, other CEOs. So business strategy, I think I've been growing a lot, and I have really good advisors that help me grow even further. And yeah, I've been managing Illuvium, my content creation, the ICC tournaments, and so on, and my own game. So I'm not going to go into all these points. I just wanted to shoot from the hip and answer this right there. I do have to leave very soon, so we're going to cut it short in a minute. But this is a good one to end it all. Why are you interested in surfing on the IMC? I'm going to read it and then I'm going to talk about it. So previously, I've not run for IMC, as I've seen more proficient and experienced people running for it. For example, I supported Viper as an all-around, as a pro gamer over my lifelong gaming experience. Or I supported Blichter as the all-around genius when it comes to DAO and governance over my early years of governance experience. But over the years, I'm proud to say I've developed a strong skill set for all those areas, and all the areas an IMC member should be proficient in. Plus, I've seen some less qualified and less passionate IMC members get elected, who I knew I can outperform in value provided. That is the reason I run for the IMC, for the DAO, always. I wanted to read this because I think this comes straight from the heart, and this is just how it is, right? I always wanted to be an IMC member, but I never felt like I could contribute enough value, and I never felt qualified enough to be it, especially seeing the other members on the IMC. Like, I wouldn't want to take votes away from Viper, who has more gaming experience than me, when I was mostly applying because of my gaming experience back then. And I would also not want to take away anything from Blichter, who is just the perfect council member. I think we can all agree on that. Everybody loves Blichter for a reason. It's very sad he didn't get into the last IMC. But I'm very, very hopeful he's going to run again. He didn't nominate himself yet. Maybe it's because we reduced the pay to an amount where it almost feels like not worth the trouble and everything and the risk. Like, I don't want to say, he's Lichter is only gonna do the work if he gets paid well, but there is still a lot of risk involved, and he's doing a great job also as a community member and as a lead moderator. So maybe that's the reason. Maybe his nomination still comes through. I would very much hope so. But yeah, to come back to the original point, I didn't see myself outperforming people like Viper, people like Lichter. Yeah. So I didn't run for it. But now I've seen with the last IMC, which all in their respective fields are qualified people, but I saw that some IMC members there, I can provide more value. Some IMC members up there, they're very qualified, but they're not really engaged, they're not really motivated, they're not really putting the hours in. They're not going above and beyond, right? So I can provide more value there because I'm in here full time, giving my all. Then I see others of the IMC who are maybe as qualified as me, or maybe even less qualified as me, because I can proudly say I have developed a lot of skills that are needed for an IMC over the years. Like my gaming is on point. I'm a gaming creator. I do guides. I put myself in the shoes of beginners and experts. I host the tournaments. Like I'm fully embedded in the gaming scene in Illuvium. This box is checked. But then now I'm also with 2 years of ICC. I have a lot of governance experience. Now with creating my own Web3 game license with Illuvium and all this collaboration that comes with it, there's a lot of boxes I've checked with that. And so over the years, I really developed the skills where I can proudly say I will provide more value than your average IMC member. At least that's my hope. I can only try to live up to my own expectations, but I am very confident in that. And that's basically the reason I run for IMC. This is a little bit of a weird a weird format, a weird video format. I'm not going to go over all the other people. Maybe I'm not going to go over all my other questions. Maybe I save that for the interviews if they come. If you like this content, let me know and I can go over the rest. I just want to share my honest opinion about all of this because it's easy to just, write a little bit of blah blah and not really mean what you say in there and not really be, even though you're fully transparent, nobody really knows you after they read your nomination sheet right here. So I wanted to deep dive and really give a little bit of context with all the things I've been answering. Feel free to nominate. Please vote. Doesn't have to be for me. I would appreciate it if it is for me, but just make sure you vote. You can nominate yourself as well. Stay up to date with Illuvium, with me on Twitter, in the Discord, and all the links down in the description below. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.